Hi
Perfect.
everybody, welcome to AI TV. We're broadcasting live from AI Expo Africa 2020 online edition, the COVID edition. We're all virtual this year. Our media center is running on Zoom, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome Lionel Bisschoff, who's the founder of Learning Machines based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Lionel, welcome to AI TV and welcome to AI Expo. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well under the circumstances, as we are all, and it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me in the cloud for our online conversation. Normally we do this at the show in a proper media center. So obviously this year we've had to improvise somewhat, but thank you, Lionel, for taking the time to join us, and also for your support at the show this year. It really is appreciated. So Lionel,
it was a great show.
Learning
Thank you very much.
Machines. Tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Learning Machines is a consultancy, obviously, in the machine learning and automation space, and it's really exactly what it says. We've been using machines now for 150 years or so, and the big change that's occurred in the last sort of 10 years is that machines can learn, and that's a really massive, cognitive automation which is starting to take place, and that's why I coined that term, learning machines, for the company name. I think it's quite appropriate for what's really happening around the world now. We founded in about 2016.
Okay.
Before that, I started a company called Kaizania, which I sold to EOH in 2012. Before, things didn't go so well, so I did reasonably well, at least. But during that time, I was involved a lot with lean thinking, agile, helping corporates transition through that whole process, and also spending a lot of time thinking about the country economics and so forth. I spent 10 years in Europe, and I was sort of like frustrated by things in South Africa, maybe, going too slow. Why do people have homes, and what's all this all about? And when I looked into this in quite some detail, I published a book in 2012 called Societal Renaissance. And that goes into quite some detail about the changes that are happening across the world in terms of automation and society and so forth. And my first goal was to try and do something about this. And I launched a startup called Mobilitate, which is about civil society, collaboration, service delivery, and so forth. That didn't go so well. I think in South Africa at that time was probably not a great country to try and launch a startup like that at that point in time. But what it did teach me was, doing all the research, I really got to the impression that the automation that is occurring globally is a cause of some of the challenges that we're facing. And I decided, instead of trying to do sort of policy and advocacy, that I would rather focus my energies on automating. And hopefully in the process, we can deal with maybe some of the societal consequences of that. But I don't think one starts with the societal consequences first. Let's automate first, and then as we automate, deal with the societal consequences together.
Yeah, that's very interesting philosophy there, Lionel. I mean, I think one of the bewildering challenges that certainly the end user, business user has right now is, where to start eating this elephant of a topic. I mean, even in the time we've been running AI Expo Africa for the last sort of 2.5 years now, what's happened in that time, when you look at some of the bigger vendors and their service offerings, has been phenomenal. Now, helping a client navigate that, you guys have quite an interesting approach, I believe. I think you run these ideation sessions with your customers. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Because it was quite interesting when we spoke about that before the interview.
Yes, absolutely. I think now more than ever, the saying by William Gibson is very true. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. And so there's enough AI technology that has been invented already to change every facet of every value chain that we are all involved in. But like you say, where to start? What is possible? And what we created was a one-day workshop called the Ideation Day. And we've run a number of them, and they've been very successful and happy customers. And we provide this on a completely free basis. So if anyone watching is interested in this, we will hop around to your venue, or we will do it virtually. And what we cover is like 4 parts of the day. An introduction of what is possible. What is machine learning? what are the aspects of how to think about it, and also how to be able to identify potential opportunities in the organization. So first part, introduce the concept so that people can understand what might be possible. Then we go through a workshop where we identify potential opportunities. We look at the data that might be available to assist those, and then we do a typical ranking Boston matrix about complexity, value, and coming out of the day is normally about 7 or 8 potential initial use cases for AI in the organization.
Well, I mean, for me, if I was on the business user side of it, engaging with that kind of session would at least allow you to come away with a concrete shopping list of priorities to start a pilot or to start a project in general. We'll put the link down here in the YouTube channel. That's what I'm pointing at right now. So yeah, we'll make sure that people get that link, Lionel. So in terms of your team and the kinds of customers, are you working in just one kind of industry vertical, Lionel, or are you working across the board?
We're mostly in the financial services organizations. I guess when it comes to automation, if your core purpose as an organization is managing information, which financial services organizations basically are, then that is a great place to start with machine learning and automation, because it's all information based. So most of our customers are either banks or insurance companies, health insurance companies, and so forth. And the kind of services we provide are, the one that is the bane of all of us, data engineering. So we spend the vast majority of our time finding data, transforming data, making it available, and at really large scale. So we work, like I said, for some of the largest banks in South Africa, and we create billions of features in both batch and streaming modes using open source systems like Spark and Flink and Cloudera and whatever the case may be. And so that's the whole process of making information available for the machines. And the second part is, okay, now you've got the information for the machines. We obviously do the data science part, and now we can create models and train these machines to do intelligent things. And especially now that the cloud providers have local presence in South Africa, the financial services organizations are starting to push quite hard to go into the cloud. And naturally, we have a lot of experience over the last 10 years in the cloud, but it's now really being applied in the data and machine learning space in the financial services organization. We haven't done much of it in the past because we're so focused on the financial services organizations. They've been quite wary in the past of sort of going to the cloud, but that has certainly changed in the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think that this sort of 2.5 year period that we've been putting together the show, yeah, I mean, I think 3 editions of the, when we did the first edition in 2018, everything, that was the buzz year. Everybody was buzz, AI, and we had, a phenomenal show. I think last year was a reality check year. Was, hang on a minute, right, this is real. Where do we go from here? And,
absolutely.
I think a lot of companies had already been on, some of the big companies had already been on a sort of 2 to 3 year RPA journey, which had kind of brought them into the automation, hyper automation sort of space. And now putting in the cognitive element to that, this year, I think, has been
absolutely.
the COVID year has been, right, we've got no choice. So it's been sort of 3 distinct years, sort of more excitement, reality, and this year, harsh reality. That's how I'd characterize the 3 years.
Yes,
and yeah, I mean, if you're not looking at it now, you better had, because everybody else
absolutely.
is. Yeah. Now, in terms of the outputs.
So in these organizations, one of the major things that we're busy with in most of our customers, which is really been taking off a lot in the last year, is the whole event enriched decision action cycle. Mm-hmm. So, we're let's say all the check transactions, all the credit card transactions, anything that's happening, streaming all that through Kafka into streaming systems. being able to enrich that then with like what offers are currently available for a customer, what's their financial position, various other things, what's the next best action, propensity models for products they might take up, and so forth. You know, credit scoring, pre-approved loans, whatever the case may be. And we enrich then the event information with that, with the feature information. Then we pass that into a model and a rules-based system, and then determine, okay, what might be the next best action based upon this context that has been created. And then doing the integration to go out to apps and to SMS and to call centers and so forth to basically build the bank as an intelligent agent ecosystem. But it's a tough environment. It's mainframes, integration, millions of events, very highly scalable stuff, and complex models, feature engineering involving credit bureau data, internal data, geolocation data, deeds data, all of that being brought together on a 15-minute basis and refreshed, and basically enabling the organization to act based upon what it is observing in the world out there, what its customers are doing. So it's a very fascinating journey. It's a tough journey. But you know, these are some of the most complex projects that I've ever been involved in, that combine data, sort of data warehousing, software engineering, enterprise application integration patterns. But it's fascinating, and slowly but surely, we are getting to the financial organization as an intelligent agent. We've made some great progress in the last 2 years, and I'm really excited about the next couple of years as we progress along this journey.
Well, that's great, Lionel. I mean, I think we've had so many different kinds of conversations on AI TV, and to hear the way you're approaching the challenge with your customers is interesting. I mean, we had a conversation earlier on with Vodacom where they were talking about more of the people and the process elements of change management in general, because at the end of the day, to get the technology to work, it has to be part of a wider change management program. I mean, finally, Lionel, I mean, in terms of, you know, how you found the show and how you found, you know, interacting with people in an online environment, you know, we've all done something new this year. Do you think online events are here to stay, or are we going to go back to face-to-face, or do you think we're going to have a hybrid type model?
I think they're definitely here to stay. I'm probably not the typical person with regards to this. I was part of you know, gambling startups 20 years ago, and I was part of a remote team based in Austria, South Africa, the Caribbean, and Norway, and we were building software together remotely in 2001 and 2002, doing Skype calls, and so I've been in that game a long time, and I'm so glad that the rest of the world has realized this is really feasible. You know, it's sort of like the thing I said earlier. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. And in terms of video conferencing and what is really possible in terms of remote collaboration and so forth, it just didn't happen. It was possible, but it didn't happen. And this has been a great kickstart in making that happen. And I think what is good is that we can now do an event that is focusing on the whole of Africa. You know, previously, it's almost impossible to try and do an event that is economically going to make a difference for so many people across Africa. And now, you know, we really are able to do that. So I think there probably will be both. You know, some aspects will be definitely physical, but now that we can also record these physical events, we can then also, as you are doing now, make the content available then for a 30-day period afterwards to also enable remote participants. So I think some kind of a hybrid thing will probably come out of this, which is fascinating.
Well, we've got a lot of data to analyze ourselves, Lionel, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you and the team for supporting us this year, taking that leap of faith to come on board. You are right, with 40 hours of talks, 80 vendor booths, yours included, 30-odd posters. It's all online now for young people, students, researchers, entrepreneurs across Africa to access. We're sharing it through our partner network, and we're hoping to get several thousand more people through the platform and get them inspired by people like you and others who made the contribution this year. So I just want to wrap it up by saying thank you very much, Lionel, from Learning Machines, for joining us here today on AI TV, and good luck with the rest of the year ahead.
Great pleasure. Same to yourselves. And I look forward to hosting those Ideation Day workshops.
Now we'll put the link down here for people to find those. Thanks, Lionel.
Perfect. Thank you.